Hey, what's up you guys? I'm back at it again. I'm gonna be making some under eye gel patches again, but this time we're gonna be making brightening ones. If you see my last video, it was more of a challenge to make 100 of them for some reason. And it was my first time making them like officially rather than just like experimenting. And I learned a lot. So today is going to be a video of me making them again and sharing with you some advice that I learned while making them. So I'm gonna make a 100 gram batch this time, and I ended up having to make a total of 300 grams to make roughly around 25 under eye patches. I had a little left over. So first I'm gonna start out with adding in 92.5 grams of distilled water. And you wanna make sure it's distilled water. Don't use tap water or drinking water. And another thing you're gonna need to do is make sure it's in a heat safe container and place it on a hot plate. A hot plate is something that I recommend investing in if you regularly make cosmetics, but if you're just making this for a fun DIY, you could use a pan that you use for cooking. Now, this isn't the most sanitary because if you're going to be using a pan, I recommend to only use it for making cosmetics and not for food. But if you're just doing this as a one-time use fun DIY, you can get away with using a pan. It'll be okay. And also I do want to mention before we get into this, if you are just going to be using these up immediately and don't plan on storing them, you don't need to add a preservative. But if you plan on storing these, you need a preservative or they're going to start spoiling immediately and probably not be good after a couple days. So I have my beaker on my hot plate and you want to make sure you heat it to 90 degrees Celsius. This is super important. Even if you're just using a pan over your stovetop, make sure it gets to 90 degrees Celsius. Typically that's when you start seeing boiling. So again, if you're just doing this for like a fun slumber party thing, you could maybe get away with just waiting until you see it boiling. Once it's reached 90 degrees Celsius, you can go ahead and add in your agar powder. This time I'm going to be using 1.5% instead of 1% like I did in the last video because I want to try to make them a little harder so they're harder to break. So mix the agar powder a bit to help dissolve it because you want to make sure it's fully dissolved. And then go ahead and set a timer for 5 minutes because you're going to want to let this sit at 90 degrees Celsius boiling for 5 minutes to fully dissolve the agar powder. So while that's heating, we can work on phase B. And phase B includes 5 grams of glycerin. You can use any other liquid humectant of choice here as long as it works as a solvent for the preservative, which is Euxyl K900. So this preservative specifically is safe to use up to 100 degrees Celsius. So that's why I'm using this preservative for this project. I don't know of any other preservative that is safe up to those temperatures, but you could possibly wait until this cools down enough to add in maybe a different preservative. I didn't check at what temperature it cooled down to where it didn't thicken, but you can let it cool for quite some time before it starts thickening, and you could probably get away with a different preservative. But make sure you have your glycerin and your preservative mixed together well, and once your water and agar powder has heated for 5 minutes, you can go ahead and just pour that phase B, the preservative and glycerin, in with the water and agar powder. And just mix it all together to make sure it's well combined. Would you like to come up here on my lap? This is also the time I like to add in the coloring. So my favorite coloring to use for this project are these water-soluble liquid dyes from Wholesale Supplies Plus. I'm using Pretty Pink, and I just added in a couple drops until I got the desired color I wanted. And then you can just go ahead and pour them in your molds. Again, you can wait a bit for it to cool down. That way it's easier to pour into molds, or you can use the pipettes. And as you can tell, these under eye gel patches are transparent, but I want to show you guys how you can make these opaque. So for this one, again, you just want to do everything the same. Heat your water up to 90 degrees Celsius. And then when you add in the agar powder, this is also when I go ahead and add in 0.1% of titanium dioxide. And the titanium dioxide will make this product opaque. That way, when you go ahead and add in your water-soluble liquid dye, which I use the same exact one I used earlier from Wholesale Supplies Plus, the Pretty Pink, just add as many drops as you need and mix it in until you get your desired color. And as you can tell, it is this gorgeous pink color and it's not see-through. I think the transparent ones look good as well. I think either or, you know, it's just whatever your preference is. It's just the opaque ones look way better for the camera, as you can tell. And I got this kind of like ombre look going on because I just kept adding more and more pink, because like after I poured it in the mold, I realized how light the pink actually was. So I added a few more drops and I just kept adding more drops, and I like the dark pink ones the best. So how to make the storage serum. This is the most important part, and this is what makes it like the brightening under eye patch, because I didn't think about this when I made them before, but what's in the under eye patch isn't really accessing the skin, you know? All of it is like formed together in a gel, so it's not really benefiting the skin. Like in the last video, I made some soothing under eye patches with colloidal oatmeal. It's like, is the colloidal oatmeal really soothing the skin? It's in the gel patch. It's not doing anything for the skin. So I realized all the ingredients that you want to be like your actives need to be in the serum part. Now I'm sure there's under eye gel patches out there that are made to where like the actives in the patch do somehow seep into the skin. I remember seeing some sort of product like that. I don't know, some kind of mechanism in the patch that like was able to get the product into the skin. But mostly it's the liquid on the gel that's like left on the skin afterwards that's doing the benefits for the skin. And then the under eye gel patch is like more for like helping soothe the skin because they're nice and cooling and stuff. I'm rambling. Let's move on. Let's make the storage serum. And this is a brightening storage serum. If you want to have a more simple storage serum without all these added ingredients, go watch my last video. I'll have it linked down below, and I make a really simplified storage serum for these under eye patches. I'm making a 100-gram batch for the storage serum as well, and I'm starting with phase A. I'm gonna add in 5 grams of glycerin, 1 gram of Euxyl K900. It's the same preservative I use in the under eye gel patch, but you can use a different one if you want. And I just mix those two together. And mixing the glycerin and Euxyl K900 will help disperse the Euxyl K900 evenly throughout the product. But in the end, it doesn't matter because we use emulsifier anyways, but that's just the routine I did. Then I went ahead and added in the magnetic stir, because this is my magnetic stir. You don't need one, you can just hand mix this, but using a magnetic stir saves my hands. So I went ahead and added in 83.5 grams of distilled water. You could use a hydrosol here instead if you want. You could use a cucumber hydrosol. That would add some like cucumber scent and benefits to the skin. Then I'm going to add in 1 gram of NAG. This is probably my favorite brightening ingredient. I think it's like really underrated. I never hear anybody talk about it. It's so easy to formulate with. Unlike a lot of other brightening ingredients like kojic acid, this will give you the brightening benefits. It'll help fade your dark spots, but it's so easy to formulate with. So I recommend checking it out. All the ingredients and links to like all the equipment will be down below. Then I'm gonna follow with 2 grams of DL-panthenol, 2 grams of niacinamide, and then 2 grams of green tea extract and 2 grams of licorice root extract. Obviously, you don't need to use all these ingredients. You can change out the extracts, use different ones. If you don't have DL-panthenol or niacinamide, just use distilled water here. But the NAG is the main brightening ingredient, so I recommend using that. You could use alpha-arbutin instead of it if you want. That does come in a liquid form or powder. And I do also recommend keeping the niacinamide because that also does help brighten the skin as well. And it is a pretty inexpensive ingredient to use. I have an entire video all about niacinamide and how to formulate with it if you want to check it out. I'll have that video linked down below. But yeah, make sure all of that is well combined, because this is when you want to add in your 0.5 grams of Sepimax Zen. It's also known as this word up on the screen. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. But this is the gelling agent. And it's a powder that you just want to spread across the top of your water and then just cover it with some plastic wrap and let it sit overnight, because it's going to take anywhere between like a few hours to like 8 hours to fully hydrate. So I always just let mine sit overnight and come back to it the next day. And when you come back the next day, it will be this gorgeous gel consistency. It's like perfect for serums. And if you don't have Sepimax Zen, you could use xanthan gum. Xanthan gum soft, preferably. I do think it can feel a little tacky on the skin personally, but other people don't mind it, and you can try it, see what you think. There's a lot of different gelling agents you can choose from. It's just I'm not gonna go into detail on all of that in today's video because I've already done that in the past. And I will be again in the future in another video. But yeah, so now it's time for phase C, and we can go ahead and add in the 0.5% tetrahexyl decyl ascorbate. This is a much more stable version of vitamin C. It's oil soluble and it's not light sensitive. It's not oxygen sensitive. It's so much easier to formulate with. And I highly recommend formulating with it if you want to add vitamin C to your products because it's just so easy to use. I use it so often and it is really expensive, but you only need a small amount of it in your formulas. So when you buy it, it'll last you a long time. And you can add vitamin C to all kinds of your products. So I definitely recommend investing in that ingredient if you want vitamin C in your products. And then lastly, 0.5 grams of vitamin E. And this is the whole reason I'm using Sepimax Zen. It's because Sepimax Zen also works as an emulsifier. So these two oil soluble ingredients will just mix in perfectly with the water soluble ingredients. And I don't need to heat it up and add in like emulsifying wax or something. It's just a gorgeous emulsified serum with lovely brightening ingredients like vitamin C, niacinamide, and the NAG. Now it is time to unmold these under eye patches. I ended up making a bunch of these opaque pink ones and look at how thick they are. That was my goal this time around. Is I realized the last time I made them, they were just too fragile. So this time I was like, okay, let's make them thicker so they're heftier, they're harder to break, and they're just so much easier to take out of the molds when they're thicker. So I was really, really happy with the results so far here. Let's talk about how to package these under eye patches. In the last video, I experimented with a couple methods, and this jar method ended up being my favorite. So I'm gonna take that storage serum we made and put 2 scoops on the bottom of the jar to just act as like the base. And then just go ahead and remove your under eye gel patches and place them in the jar on top of the serum. And then you just wanna go ahead and put 1 scoop on top of both of them. So 1 scoop, I just like split in half between each under eye patch. I spread it on, and then I just place the next under eye patch set on top, put another scoop of the storage serum, and I just keep repeating this until I get to the top of the jar. Just storage serum, eye patch, storage serum. And in the end, that ended up being my favorite method for storing these under eye patches. So I did order on Amazon these Mylar bags. I mentioned this in the last video that I think this would be a great way to sell these under eye patches. Well, I apparently ordered the wrong size. They're way too small. So I was planning on just putting 1 pack of the under eye patch, like still in the plastic, in the Mylar bag, cover it with the serum, and then store it that way. And I think that would be a good way to sell them as well. But since I'm just using it for personal use, I think this jar method is the best way to store them because it's like less wasteful, you know? So other random information I want to talk about that doesn't really fit into a specific category. So first off, here are these transparent ones that I made. It was so weird. So I made them the same exact way I made the opaque ones that you guys see me package up. But the only difference is I left them in the refrigerator over the entire weekend. And when I came back on Monday, they were thinner than paper. They somehow shrunk. They were so freaking thin. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to use these because if I store them in that jar, the storage jar method, they're just gonna all get jumbled up and lost in there. I was like, this did not work. Like, what in the world happened? I thought maybe it was because I used more agar-agar powder this time. And I don't know, maybe some sort of weird reaction happened, but I used the same formula as I did for the opaque ones, and those ones never shrunk. So I'm thinking maybe it was just the fact that I kept them in the fridge for 4 days, made them shrink. Check out these opaque ones I made. They literally shrunk. They don't even take up as much space as the under eye patch mold. They literally just shrunk. Just keep that in mind. If you leave them in the fridge for too many days, they'll probably shrink. So again, I still haven't found like a foolproof like formula that I think is good enough to sell for these under eye patches. But I do hope between both of these videos I've created, it helps inspire you or give you a place to start on your formulating journey to make under eye patches to sell. Forget what it's called, but I'll find it and then insert the name of it right here. Gelling agent specifically, and a lot of store-bought under eye gels. Also, what I've noticed in store-bought under eye gel patches is they use multiple different gums. So maybe a blend of adding in some other gums like xanthan gum and maybe Tara gum along with the agar-agar powder could make these more stable, and I'm interested in trying that. So I don't know, if you guys want to see me attempt this one more time, maybe I'll do cucumber caffeine under eye patches this time, because I know I teased the cucumber ones in the last video, but I wanted to do brightening ones instead. But I could do cucumber caffeine, and I could try adding in a blend of gums and see how that goes. I don't know, and maybe I can actually order Mylar bags that fit. They look cute. Look how cute they look. Like, they look so much better. But I do like the idea of using these tongs. They don't break as easy. Last under eye patch I made, if I picked up an under eye patch with these tongs, instantly broke them. But I notice I am more likely to break them with my nails now than I am these tongs because they're thicker and stronger this time around. So that is a plus. But as soon as I put this guy on, he'll start slipping. Watch. Another patch. Oh my gosh, he is so low. And this one I did actually break a little bit with the tong just now. This is, look how low down that is already. So that is pretty annoying because I like to walk around my house and do chores while I wear these. But I mean, cute, right? What I do notice though, if you keep just pushing them up, they do fall down less and less because it just, you know, it's drying up. The serum is going away. And again, if you just wipe off the serum, they will stick better. It's just, you know, we want the serum. We like the serum. But yeah, I am pretty happy with them. I just wish they didn't fall off the face and they didn't really break that easy, but I still think it's a win. I still think this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But overall, I think this is a fun DIY to do at parties. I think I keep saying that. And again, if you're at a party and you're using these just instantly, you don't need a preservative. But if you're gonna sell these, if you're gonna store these, you need a preservative and you need to make sure you're doing testing to make sure they don't get soft over time. Make sure that they're still moist when your customer goes to use them. There's a lot of testing you need to do with these under eye patches because this is not a foolproof formula that is stable enough to be sold. And I will see you guys in the next one later. Also, don't forget to go over and check out my Patreon where I post 2 exclusive videos every single month. So there are a ton of videos you can go over there and binge watch for only $5 a month. And for $10 a month, you can get a small business shout out, or maybe you have a YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and shout everybody out. Nature's Farm Girl, thank you so much. Let's Blend, thank you. HempyGirl.com, Tila'sHoney.com, ShopLevi's.com or ShopLevi's.com. 7th House and Oak on Etsy, at Black Petal Beauty on Instagram, Owl and Lily on Etsy, ZayelaMoore.com, I hope I said that right, EmbraceBeautyEssentials.com, LegendaryBathandBody.com, at Stardust Bath and Body on Instagram, AstariApothecary.com, Revega Cosmetics here on YouTube, ExoreBB.com, PardoNaturals.com, naturalstateskin.com, thenatureandus.ca, and mycrownandglory.com, which is launching soon. Go sign up if you want a shout out or if you just want bonus content. The shout out tier might be full. It's full pretty often because I only have so much space in the description box to link to everybody.